Barbell. I'm Coach Lori here with Coach Ty, and we have an amazing guest today, Abrie from Rose City Barbell in Georgia, right? Rose City Barbell Club.
That's right.
Let me know that. And you're one of the first 100 MetFix affiliates, so we can't wait to talk to you today, and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Absolutely, Abrie. Thank you so much for taking time to come on here and speak with us today. Obviously, we understand what happened last time, so hopefully this one goes a whole lot smoother. But just to save time and get us right back on it, we're going to start interviewing you with everything that's been going on with MetFix. So let's keep it simple. First things first. You guys are doing some amazing things down in GA. You told me that you met Lori at the Rogue Seminar.
I did. Yeah, we met back in June.
Let's talk about that first time, that first experience, getting the whole MetFix, everyone down at the Rogue Seminar. How'd that go for you?
It was really awesome. I mean, that was the first one that they had. So it was cool to be part of the first class, definitely. But you know, and having it be at Rogue HQ, I'd never been there before. So it was really cool to go and experience it for the first time as well. But also, Lori and I had followed each other all on social media and kind of, knew each other through the Netflix realm, but it was really neat to meet her in person. And yeah, I mean, that whole experience was just really amazing. Like, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I was pretty intimidated by, I think, the content, just coming from my English degree background and jumping right into them. But after the first, 30 minutes of lecture was really just, I knew I was right where I was supposed to be. And we had an awesome 2 days full of lecture and movement and just meeting other coaches and people that weren't even coaches, people, that had therapists and doctors there. So it was really neat to be among that crew and just kind of experience the first run of it, it was really cool.
Yeah, perfect. So let me ask you this. Prior to MetFix, how long were you actually coaching and running a gym?
We opened our gym February of 2012. So we've been doing it for 13 years.
Wow.
And
Uh,
I would say what started us was kind of getting into nutrition, like experiencing paleo, learning about that through the person that introduced us to CrossFit. Paleo came with that. So we tried that. My husband and I did that for 30 days. And that is how I really started getting interested in nutrition, was just because I had experimented a lot in my life. I'd gone vegetarian. I had done lots of other, different things to see how I felt and, what produced weight loss, what didn't. And paleo was really more of a source of healing for him. And that really opened my eyes to kind of what you're taught about nutrition versus, what we were finding out on our own as we were kind of advocating for ourselves. But yeah, we've been in the game for 13 years and it's been a wild ride,
so I can't even imagine. I was going to say, so back to the main question, I was kind of getting that out because I was curious. Obviously, being in this industry for 13 years, you have a ton of experience. Not only that, you obviously practice the principles that you were talking about, paleo and everything. So when you actually went and you started going down this MetFix road, did you actually learn more stuff than you knew prior with your already almost 15 years in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think, even as somebody who's learned about paleo, I've learned about keto, I've learned about carnivore, I've experimented with all of them, kind of hearing it from the source, like, hey, this is why these methods have been working for you. And this is why these other methods that are taught in these kind of traditional schools of thought aren't as effective. And, I had learned from experience with myself and then also with clients, like kind of figuring out, like, okay, if we tweak it this way, that way, this is producing better results. But to, I think, hear the why behind it and get to understand the science of why it's so effective was new for me. It wasn't something that I was easily able to find anywhere else. So whenever we got that there and we're able to then talk about them and the results we were already seeing with clients in our gyms, it kind of gives you this full circle moment of like, oh, okay. And then I can take that back to my gym and explain it to everyone else and get everybody on board. Not just the people who maybe have type 2 diabetes or trying to heal something, you know?
Back for a minute, like we were learning stuff. Obviously, Ty, you know about Ross. We're talking about mitochondria, and we get in our breakout group, and we have this big piece of paper, and a lot of us felt like we were drinking from a fire hose that day, right? Like we had the pre-course and we did all this stuff, and you and I are both English majors, so we're like science. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing?
Yeah.
And it just takes the pen, and she does exactly what she's supposed to do, and draws the mitochondria and all the parts and the things. And I was like, dude, this chick's amazing. I'm glad we're going to be hanging out for lunch this weekend. No, I love you. You're fantastic. But, I mean, from the beginning, I could just tell you were so interested, and your whole heart was in it for all the right reasons. And you just were like a shining star that whole weekend. That's one of my memories of being at Rogue with you, was just your awesomeness. And you're a hell of an athlete too. There's nothing she can't do. Don't There's something she's not 10 out of 10 perfect on. So
No, thank you.
So I'm going to ask you a little bit about things in your gym. So you brought stuff back to Rose City Barbell Club, and everybody's kind of like, okay, this is very interesting. She's giving us the why we don't feel full, or why we can't burn fat, all these different things. And then I saw online on social media, you started doing community coffee talk,
Mhm.
right? So tell me about what that is like at your gym and what it does with your members.
Well, we we started those in January. As soon as we became an affiliate, we kind of decided, we had rebranded the year before, and we were like, I want to do these talks on Saturdays at least once a month, where we can bring in um people that maybe don't come to our gym. Like, people can bring their friends and family in. It's a free event. We'll maybe do a workout, maybe it'll just be lecture, but give us an opportunity to talk about some of this stuff. And one of our first ones was kind of just retelling our origin story for those who heard it, why we got into this. And then they kind of shifted into different things. Like, we have a physical therapist that's been a gym member for 13 years. He did a talk, we did a workout, and then he did a talk about kind of these different tests you can do, kind of to see if you have the range of motion that you should have. And maybe, if you don't and you want to work on that, maybe you go see him, find another physical therapist. We had a mental health therapist come in and talk about stuff. So then, after I went to Rogue, then I was like, okay, it's my time to shine. I need to bring this stuff out here. And that entire weekend at Rogue, they kind of kept asking us, and like, how are you going to bring this back to your gym? Like, it's ours to do with what we want. So I knew that I had to figure out how to convey the message and get it out to people in a way that they could understand. So I got up there and kind of explained the problem. And a lot of my members, like, they either have been ill before, or they have friends and family that are suffering with something. So it resonates for a lot of people whenever you start digging into that and why we're encountering all these issues. But yeah, I drew the diagram and explained it to them. And from that, then, a lot of people came and started wanting to work with me individually. And we kind of developed an offshoot from that, like a group chat that people could get into, the people that really wanted to pay attention to their nutrition and kind of keep it top of mind and needed some extra help, but get into this group. And, they're making the MetFix recipes. They're sharing, pictures of their breakfast and kind of what's going on for them, how we're navigating the holidays. So that has kind of been what's grown just from that one coffee talk on nutrition. And then we've done some others after that, where I just kind of break down protein, break down carbohydrates, break down fat, and because they all kind of deserve their own lecture. And people then can see, okay, like, these are a list of carbohydrates. Here's, ones that are going to take a little bit longer to digest and give me a little bit slower energy. These are going to be faster. So it helps people kind of just focus on one thing at a time, and then they're able to ask questions and, you know, it gives us a more of a one-on-one, but we're still in a group setting, kind of like coaching a class, you know. But it's been really good, and we've been videoing them, which this stuff is all very far out of my comfort zone. Been putting them on YouTube, uh, but it comes from a place of like I know that this stuff needs to be shared with people. It needs to be in front of people. The message has to get out there, and you know who else is gonna do it if I'm not gonna do it? You know, like I need to be one of the foot soldiers out there telling people, you know, because they're not getting this information from their doctor. People are getting a diagnosis from their doctor and then they're coming to me. So I feel like I have a responsibility and obligation to kind of do this stuff. So even though it's uncomfortable, I'm still willing to do it.
I love that. You want to add anything to that, Lord?
Whether it's a client, member, someone that comes in off street for help or through a nutrition course, like I'm sure at least once or twice a week you have people coming in that are like, hey, my A1C is high, or hey, I just was diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Like we keep hearing it and seeing it here like constantly. And and I know that I become instantly unpopular. If it were high school, I'd be the least picked because I'm like, you can't have your donuts and your sugar and your carbs and your pina coladas all weekend and different things and think that you're going to be healthy or, outrun that kind of stuff. But like you said, it's the science behind it in MetFix. Like we're understanding biology, we're understanding really intense science. And so it's not like we're like, hey, I saw it on TikTok. It's a really cool fad. You're going to lose weight if, like, we're really coming with the facts.
Right.
And when people start making that small shift in the beginning, some people dive right in, and most people are like dip the toe and then the foot and then the ankle. Then they're up to their chest in the water in the pool, right? But they're noticing the positive effects of the dietary changes
Right.
every step that they take. And then finally, there's that click. You kind of see it in their eye, or they'll verbalize that they felt that. And then they're all in. And then the magic really happens because on paper, they look like they did 20, 30 years ago and like fit as a fiddle, right? And it's just an amazing thing. I mean, it's good that we're okay being uncomfortable because we're making all the Metfix affiliates are making this big difference by saying the unpopular things like you don't need to carb load before a race, right? That kind of stuff. So yeah.
So I was kind of curious. Did you get any, like, not pushback, but was it easier for you to come in and start preaching about this stance on food and letting your members know that? Like, were you guys pretty health conscious prior, or was some of this completely new to some of your members here? And you say, hey, this stuff has to stop. This is what I've learned. Like, was this a culture shock, or was it just adding on to something that you had already been enforcing?
I felt like it was an add-on. I think because most of our gym probably views me as the one that's really polices that kind of stuff. I think. Um, whereas some people like, because whenever I've competed, like some people will do like gummy bears and things like that before they do an open workout, and I'm like, no, none of that for me.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love candy, and I can eat junk food with the best of them, but I I definitely don't want people to see me do that and then talk to them about their A1C and why that's happening. You know what I mean? I think that like no, I've always been trying to practice what I preach, even as hard as it can be, and especially in different seasons of life. But I've always I think I think paleo was definitely like a huge driver for me and just seeing like the impact that that had on our lives. So since then, just I've always read a lot and shared a lot about that specific style of eating. And then the more I learned about type 2 diabetes and kind of the things that happen there and why somebody would need to be much lower carbohydrate to correct those issues, the more I learned, the more that I would share. And we live in an area where it's not uncommon to see like several dialysis centers around here. So I think like people need to see that in their face just as much as they drive by those dialysis centers every day.
Oh yeah.
So I would say, if anything, I was probably unpopular already just for having a stance on nutrition in that way. But then whenever I was able to kind of show them the metabolic pathways and be like, this is what's happening when you're doing high intensity work, when you're doing low intensity work, and this is why you don't necessarily need to eat additional sugar to fuel performance here. You need to
Absolutely.
you need to lower your insulin so that we can burn some fat. Whenever I was able to explain that to them, then they're like, that's why you've been saying this all along. I'm like, yes, it's like the light bulb,
Um,
you know, because then it's like, I think for some people, it's like once you hear that and you see it, you can't unsee it. So then going into your next workout, you're like, okay, like, well, I did eat just a banana before this workout. So I've got to kind of burn through that first before I'm able to tap into my glycogen storage and then start, so you start to think about the process more. And that can kind of help you determine what you're going to eat for your next meal and how you're going to train. But yeah, no, I don't think it was anything necessarily new for them. It was more education for sure. And then for
I,
those
I,
for those that weren't part of our gym, it was brand new to them for sure.
very cool. Yeah, like I said, I obviously couldn't imagine how tough it is to push a hard line down in the South. Like we said last time, I was in the South. I remember being at football practice drinking sweet tea over water because that's
Yeah.
what it was. And so that's a whole, basically you carrying the flag out there. People don't know it's a tough area
Yeah, I
to
mean,
get people on track. So the fact that you're able to do that's huge.
no, it's very cemented in our culture here. So that is really, it's difficult. I mean, a lot of clients that are coming off of soda and sweet tea for sure. That's one of the first things I ask people to give up.
Where it starts. Absolutely not. But still, like you said, it's always good though, because that's the other thing that I love about a coach is a coach who is willing to live it and then preach it. And so that is something that me and Lori take pride in here because we're the same way. We will never do anything that we're not actually practicing or tell anyone to do it if we haven't or are going to. So knowing that you're on that same path of walking what you say, it's hard to find coaches like that. So anytime it's seen, it's obviously appreciated
Yeah,
because that is the true way to get those results.
right,
Because you're the beacon to that client who's never seen what health looks like. And
right.
so I always say a coach, yeah, people may not like to hear it, but we have to walk a harder line sometimes.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's very, very cool. All right. Oh, where we at? Ooh, so since the whole Memphis and all this new knowledge, let's talk about some of your member wins. What type of member wins have you had with all of this new info being given to you?
Well, I think previously I told you guys kind of about we have John who's pre-diabetic. He's been with us for over a year now. He had been in a really bad motorcycle accident. He's 61 now. And he came in to gain, range of motion, get some movement back and gain some strength. But he was pre-diabetic and had done the shots and stuff like that. And he just he wasn't feeling very strong. And so he worked with my husband in the gym for a bit and then came to me for nutrition. And it really didn't take very long. I mean, we dropped his carbohydrates down and that really like dramatically within 6 months and his blood work's perfect again. Um and it's been perfect since then. And he always talks about how he feels like $1 million. And he feels so much younger than he did feel. But I think that really helps in his recovery from the motorcycle accident and just kind of healing in general. And then I have another client, Ken, who's also 60. He's a type 2 diabetic, but his A1C, I think he shared with me the other day, was 5.3. Insulin is down, I think under 2. Like it's really all really, really good. And we've we've dropped his carbs down to under 50, 50 a day. but he's gained a ton of muscle since he's been with us and lost a lot of body fat.
Yeah.
So he's doing really great. But that's been a really like awesome journey to witness. And since like MetFix and kind of learning more, he was able to shed like a lot more body fat. From the kind of the moment I got back, we made a bigger shift in that direction, and he was able to start losing more. But I've seen a lot of good progress with him. And then I also have a female client. She's 50. So, she's been working with battling hormones and things like that and cravings. And she's lost a good amount of body fat as well. But I put her in a keto prescription, and she's somebody who really struggled with sugar cravings, and that has been a huge win for her, is that she doesn't crave sugar anymore. And that, I think, was for me, like, that really speaks to me, kind of the battle that I've had, because I know, like, I think whenever I tried to eat like more of a zone style, or 40-30-30, like balance, whenever you give me like an inch, I'll take a mile. So I really, that's something that I really personally struggled with. And so being able to help her in that way, not have any of that food noise anymore, was really like a cool thing to see. So, but I'm still working with all three of those people, and they're continuing to make good gains every month. So it's been really,
That's awesome.
really cool.
Yeah, I will always say this, people may not be here at this level to understand it yet, but I always feel that a fitness journey is, honestly, it's a spiritual journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that because it's going to test your discipline. It's going to test your self-control. It's going to test a lot of your inner demons that have been at the will for so long. And so many who have been on this journey for years and years and years truly see the spiritual side of where, no, just by eating right and doing this, my life has changed.
Right.
Like, that's not with reading or anything else. Just by learning, like, dude, just give in to the urges to eat the sugar anytime that you're craving it, or go out and just, okay, let's have some drinks. Like, people don't realize that the discipline and self-control that is built by those of us who have been on it for years and years, I know people who have been in church who won't have this change. Put it that way. That is how impactful walking this line is, and controlling your food and getting everything into that good order.
Right.
So, and like you said, just the fact that you're already changing lives and getting people to kind of realize that this is much bigger than just looking good. This is so much deeper than that.
Right. A lot of us are in recovery, of different kinds, and some of it's from food, some of it's from alcohol. But I mean, it's there's a lot going on up here and in here, and it's not just giving somebody some macros to follow. Like, there is a lot of internal work that's happening, I think, all the time, throughout the journey. Even in my own, this 13 years it's been a process.
Yeah. No, that's how come, like I said, I completely love it, because it's hard to meet people who've been on it this long.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a certain thing that you get, because Lori's the same way, she's been on this forever, and it's something that you'll only know if you've walked it for years and be like, no, this is the only way to be. There's no other way to go. But honestly, being able to carry it out day after day after day, that's the test. That's the test of the human spirit.
Right.
More than anything.
It's very cool.
Like, I just got through Thanksgiving with that. Like, it's before you used to have to talk yourself out of it or wrestle around with it and then give in to the craving, right? And now it would have to be a real point of like decisiveness. Like, I'm going to eat this scoop of ice cream for the first time in 3 years to do it, versus like, I can't help myself. I'm like,
Right.
that was my whole life up until I found CrossFit. Like, Ty and I talk about it. Like, I didn't get up to 235 pounds by like saying no to sweets, right? Like I just ate whatever I wanted to, but the mindset is different. And it's like we're changing and saving lives at the same time, like you said, because so many people have addictions, demons, things that keep them from being their best self, their healthiest self. And these little changes that they make release something in them and they take pride in themselves. They feel good about themselves. They have more things to work for. Like, oh, I did that. Well, let's do that. Right. And you can see the change. And I feel like that's obviously for me here, the most rewarding thing of owning a gym and now being a MetFix affiliate is just watching this happen over and over again with people. And I feel like what greater gift to go have and give out to the world. So
Right.
you guys are doing.
I don't know if you remember, it was the second day of the MetFix seminar. Megan Russell did her talk, and she was talking about like addiction, like alcohol addiction, food addiction, and just like the other 23 and kind of those decisions that you make and the things that you justify. And, it's tough, like as a coach, because I think people think you have it all figured out all the time and that you've just got it all under control. And like, no, I'm in this boat with you. Like, grab a paddle, we're,
I like that.
but her talk, I mean, that resonated with me so much because I think like, there's, the aspects of like binging and hiding stuff. And like, I know I'm not alone in that. I think whenever I was able to convey that to my members as well, like, I'm human, like we're all human. We're all fighting this stuff together. Like, I know I'm not the only one that's got stuff, and they have it too. So it's like, I'm not perfect, but I'm not willing to give up the fight either. So, I think that is a way to kind of have that impact on people. But I remember just her lecture really like hit home for me. That made me like emotional because I was like, oh wow, like I've never seen anybody get up there and kind of admit these things in front of a group like that. And it hit home so hard for me. But I think I don't know where I was going with that, but I just think stuff like that is important. Sometimes it can be important to share that with the people that you're coaching, because then they understand, like they realize they aren't alone and they're not fighting this battle by themselves.
When you're stuck in your own head, your own problems, your sadness, depression, addiction, whatever it is that's keeping you at this lower frequency in life. And then I can remember, I'll share this, like right before I finally got back on track from all the COVID stuff, I used to get so fucking bitter that nobody came to save me.
Mm-hmm.
Why is no one saving me? Why is Tim not saving me? Why are my friends? Why can't someone just come take care of me and like be this like person that lifts me up out of this hole? And I was so bitter, and I wallowed in that for quite some time. And then the switch, flicked back on, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. And I got to a really good place by the time I became an affiliate. And then this whole year has been completely life changing. And then all the years of my life of going through illness and sickness and miscarriages and problems, and like no one could save me. And I prayed for someone to save me. And then I became the person who saved me. But I was so bitter in that for so long too. I just so pissed off all the time. And then you feed your anger with bad food. It's like a cycle, because you're so angry, and no one cares, and why, and really just not quite at that point where you understand it's okay that you've let yourself be defeated for a bit, and now you're going to pull yourself out of it, and you're not alone. And you're right, like when she had that talk, and when Chris talked about addiction and different things, like that was like the most emotionally and hard-hitting part of the weekend for sure. And it's true, like as coaches, it's important to be transparent and vulnerable and honest, and just try to remember that feeling when you were waiting to be saved one way or another, right? And just to try to be that person for people. It's always a humbling moment for me to think back to how broken I was and how bitter I was. It was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Speaking of helping people and serving the community and people that definitely need to be supported and loved, let's talk about what your gym does for veterans.
Right. Well, my husband is an Army veteran. He was in for 6 years. He was in from 2001 to 2007, and had a couple of deployments to Iraq, and he was medically retired. He was very, very badly injured over there in 2004. And he just did the podcast with Dale on Veterans Day, where they kind of detailed their experience being deployed in Iraq and the bombing that happened, the big bombing that happened while they were there. But Nick had a really long recovery after his injury, and after he got out of the service. And so that was part of the reason we found paleo and CrossFit, was that we were kind of on this healing journey. And I think in part of that healing was kind of searching for that camaraderie. He loved being in the Army. He loved, being among his brothers and sisters, and being out in the field and doing all the things. And I think he would have made a career out of it if he would have had the opportunity. So I think, he was really searching for that somewhere in the civilian world. And whenever we, started doing our first CrossFit workouts and kind of suffering together, I think he started to find an inkling of that. And then when we opened a gym, he made sure that he outfitted it in a way that had a very military vibe. So we have all of the flags hanging up from all the different branches. We have a big American flag in there. And a lot of our members are from all different branches of the service. We have some that are active duty, some that are leaving, they're leaving in January. And then some that are longtime, veterans. But I feel like they are drawn into that community because of Nick and who he is and the story that he has. But also just, I think they're all searching for that camaraderie as well. And we've just kind of been able to, be that for people. But we offer discounts for service members, active, retired, and then also like first responders in our community. So our police officers, our firefighters, EMTs, but they all, I think everybody picks up on the vibe whenever they come in, that we're just a garage gym with a bunch of military flags hanging in there. And we like to do, special symbolic workouts on like Memorial Day. We all get together and do Murph, and our firefighters come out and they get in their full gear and do Murph with us. And Nick usually gives a really good speech right before to kind of remind everybody what it's all about. But I think, he's just been a great spokesperson for that, like not spokesperson, but person to kind of lead the charge on that and make sure that we're a place that's there for veterans and people that are actively serving. I think, like I said, just with his story, like everybody that comes in has a story. They have their stuff, and I think people feel really comfortable coming in and kind of sharing what they've got. We even just had, a new guy that came he's much older veteran. But immediately I think felt comforted coming in and just seeing what we were all about. But yeah, I mean, I think we definitely would love to get even more involved in the veteran community. But just being the two of us there, we haven't really found the time to do so yet. But I think that's definitely something that we're interested in doing, being a part of.
Well, as always, like I said, when it's obviously that is so huge that he was able to find something that gave him that. Because most people don't know, one of our guys, he was in an incident where he was in the Army, and there was a IE unit basically got him out. And it was one of those things where when it's unexpected and you're in it, it's a hard hit that most people will never understand when you're doing things with your brothers out there and it has to come to an end. Nobody's ever ready for that. And I don't know. I'm not going to say that I understand what that's like because I don't. But it's tough. And the fact that he was able to find something that got him to hang on and keep on going, and then we got others involved. So now he's almost like, okay, found my brothers, I'm back. They always give something. And people really don't realize at the core, a lot of us want to be a part of something. It doesn't matter if it's the military, cop, people like to be into something.
Right.
And so when you lose it, man, it's hard as hell. And so I'm actually happy that he's able to find another organization to give that to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I think too, like, well, in the early days of CrossFit, when you saw like the old school videos of like, your police officers and your vets working out together, he saw that. And, it all kind of reminds you of PT probably. And I think that was like immediately like, okay, like I could get down, I could do something like that. But it is so interesting how it just kind of naturally draws, that group of people in. But it's very cool because there is an insane amount of respect, I think, for all service members and people that are locally serving our community as, first responders. Like the amount of respect for the work that they do, goes out beyond our gym, obviously, but just having them come in and like work out with us, be it for, Memorial Day or Veterans Day or whatever it is, like, it's a huge honor to be among that group of people. So
I love it. You got anything, Lauren?
No, I just love hearing the story. And I was thinking while I was doing chat, I had my Beats in. I don't have AirPods at Beats. My kid gets the AirPods. I get the secondhand stuff, and I did my box step ups listening to Nick and Dale, and I was like, it's incredible what you guys have built there and what you do for others. I can't even really put into words, and I've never even experienced it in person. Just hearing
you need to come.
stories from you and talking to you, but we need to go. Ty, let's go on a field trip. Let's go. We're gonna go. It's Thomasville, Georgia, right? We're going to Georgia next year, 2026.
Ty's been
Go down and give.
woods already.
I love the South.
Georgia's beautiful. I have no problem going back to Georgia. Okay. So now we're gonna rapid fire 5 questions, and we'll start with Ty and we'll end with Ty. Because Ty always does that big question at the end, yeah?
Yeah, but this one's gonna be different.
Okay.
So you're the only person who's forced me to come up with some new heart stoppers. So I will say them. I'm gonna start out easy though. I'm gonna start out easy.
Okay.
All right. Let's go ahead. What is your favorite barbell movement?
Oh man. The snatch.
Okay. I like it. Very, very rare to find those around.
It's a tie. I really we overhead squatted today, and I really love the overhead squat, which is probably why I like snatch. But
Not my word.
I'm very proud of my mobility and my, and the strength that I have and the ability to do that movement. So, but that, snatching is fun. It's probably one of my favorite things.
I like it. Good stuff.
Question 2, favorite family vacation that you and the kids have taken with you and your husband and the kids?
To the beach. I'm trying to remember which beach it was. It was last year. We all went to the beach. It's one of the beaches on the Gulf. I can't really remember right now. I remember where we stayed, but gosh, that's going to frustrate me that I can't remember which beach it is. But it's a Florida beach, and that's really all you need to know. But no, we love the beach. Our whole family really loves the beach. So any opportunity we get, that's usually where we go.
All right. Next question. This is me just being curious. Did you play any sports in high school?
What do you mean by play? I sat on the bench. I sat on the bench in soccer.
You sat on the bench and something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bench.
That was your only sport in high school, soccer?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We didn't have to try out for that. I was just on the teams. I really think I would be a better soccer player now at 41 than I was at 15 or whatever.
I believe that.
I'm more of an athlete now than I was back then, for sure.
By far.
Yeah.
That's still cool. Good stuff.
Right. You told me about the rosemary butter chicken thigh recipe last time, and I tagged you. I made it. What's another favorite daily fix recipe? Because whatever you tell me, I'm gonna go to the store and make it tonight.
There is there's an egg one. Well, some of the salmon ones are really good, but there's an egg one, and it's got brie and prosciutto. If you just type that into when you go to the archive, you know how you have to search it. It's eggs, brie, prosciutto, and maybe spinach. It's really, really good. It's a very good, like, savory breakfast.
All right.
Amazing. All right. I'm excited to see what this new question is.
All right. Here's the deep one.
Okay.
Nobody obviously knows when their last day on Earth is. So you've just been told you have 24 hours to live. Walk me through that day. What are you doing?
Oh, man. Oh.
Got to think.
That's deep.
You got to think now. 24 hours left on Earth.
24 hours left. I mean, I'm going to spend it with my family. I guess we could go to the beach. Me and the fam go to the beach. Literally play on the beach all day, eat some fresh seafood. I don't know. I'm a very simple person, I think, when it comes to that. I just want my last day to be with my family and, like, eat something really good that I love, and I love seafood. So, or like a crawfish boil or something like that. I'm from Cajun, so but something like that I really enjoy, and maybe like a couple of cold beers.
Okay. Anything on the bucket list? Like, there's not one thing or one place like you're like, I got to do this at least once in my life.
I want to go to Paris like once in my life, but I mean, I don't like. I'm not gonna spend like part of my 24 hours like in flight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Okay.
I'm thinking
So
if we didn't have to count travel time, then yeah.
But spending time with the family, taking it low key at the beach, having some good food, just
seeing a good
being present and enjoying life.
Being present, sunrise, coffee and sunrise.
There you go. Very, very cool. All right. Well, thank you for being the first one to answer that one. I will be interchanging that one out. We'll see who's going to get hit with it next.
Yeah.
And obviously, thank you for taking the time to just do this again.
All right. Thank you.
That means a lot.
Thank y'all so much for having me.
And we put it out there. Now all of our viewers have watched it. We're going to come to Georgia and hang out with you guys.
Come work out with us.
Take a beach trip. We'll find the closest one to where you are. We'll find some water. We'll have a good time.
Yeah.
Thank you again. It's always great seeing you.
Thank you.
And until next time, to our San Ramon viewers, keep it classy, stay consistent. It's December, so everybody better have their planner with their workouts literally written down every day, so that if you write it down in pen like you do with your work meetings, you're probably going to definitely do it. So just do it, right? That's my last tip for December. All right. Thank you again so much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.